Hello everyone, my name is Meghan LeVota, and today I'm going to be talking about Carl Jung's cognitive functions and are they equal? I personally believe that each of the 8 cognitive functions are equal as far as value, as far as what they can achieve. And I notice a lot of bias in the typology community where sometimes people will either prop up their functions a little bit to be better than others, or they'll idealize another person's set of functions that's not theirs. And comment below if maybe you're guilty of doing this, and let me know, is that intentional? Do you actually believe that certain functions are better than others? So I guess in this video, I really want to just explain what I believe and some of the assumptions that I'm coming from in all of my videos in regards to the cognitive functions and how they relate to one another. I'm sure that there are some interesting arguments in regards to potentially them not being equal. The one thing I will say is that I think certain situations, depending on the situation, there might be one circumstance where one cognitive function is easier to get the job done than another. Like, for example, if you were to do like public speaking, for example, I would imagine that having higher up valued extroverted sensing could be good, or just honestly any of the extroverted functions might be a little bit easier to do public speaking than the introverted functions. But here's where I'm getting at when it comes to equality. Even if that were true, if we were going to take the example of public speaking, if you were using an extroverted function, like let's say extroverted sensing, maybe you'd be really good at hyping up the crowd, but those with better introverted sensing are going to be able to make sure everything is covered and make sure they aren't leaving anyone wondering, like, oh, what does that mean? Or like, oh, how does that apply? Introverted sensing is going to be a little bit more thorough. And so I think it's important to look at the cognitive functions as tools in your toolkit. And I know I've used that metaphor before, and I'm not the first person in the world to come up with that metaphor. But if you think of them as tools, certain ones will be easier depending on the project, but not one tool is better than the other. And yeah, I guess comment below. Let me know if you disagree with that, because I would love to know your reasoning for why. Because for me, it is extroverted feeling. Okay, so actually, I'm going to give a shout out to Michelle Wilson, by the way. Subscribe to her channel. She's an ENFP. I'm going to quote you on this. I don't know if you said this or if you got this from somewhere else, but I was watching one of her videos and it was about extroverted feeling and extroverted thinking being self-evident. I love that word and I want to use it now. So kudos to you for coming up with that. But I'm realizing as I'm saying this that, you know, I'm just saying, yeah, they're equal. Yeah, they all are equal in value. It's very self-evident to me as an extroverted feeler, but I would like to know where you all are coming from if you don't agree with that. But I believe that, you know, extroverted feeling and extroverted thinking are both ways to judge and understand the world around us. And introverted feeling and introverted thinking are both ways to understand who we are subjectively and understand what angle we're coming from when we are looking at the world. So extroverted feeling and extroverted thinking is more detached, where you're looking around at everyone and you're like, the world is good or bad, the world is stupid or smart, just sort of assessing the general competencies / emotions, whatever function you're using, you're going to see it through that lens. You're just sort of like, I would say that FE and TE users, like EJs in particular, if that is your dominant function, it's going to be pretty self-evident to say like, well, most people, blah, blah, blah. people value blah, blah, blah. People think blah, blah, blah. Like, we're focused on all of you all, like, all the time. So that is the judgment. And no matter what type you are, you're going to need to understand the world around you. And you know what? Like, not one of those functions is better than the other because it gets the same job done. And the job is to understand the world around you. So, 2 orientations, 1 problem, 2 different ways of tackling it. If you do that well, then you get the job done. And so this concept of, you know, getting the job done, like, remember that no matter what your stack is, you can look at a project or a problem and you can get the job done using your function. So don't let anybody tell you that you don't have the right functions and you don't have the capabilities to get something done, because it's really all it is. So, okay, I just talked about extroverted feeling and extroverted thinking. And so introverted feeling and introverted thinking are ways of judging who am I in relation to the tribe. And now I'm sort of using some words that Dave Superpowers have used. Thank you, Dave Superpowers, for helping come up with the language for me to talk about this. Go subscribe to him and Shannon. Anyway, so if F-E and T-E are the tribe that is judging the tribe, people are blah, 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 then introverted judging is who am I in relation to the tribe? Do you know who you are? Do you know where you are coming from? What do you think? What do you feel? And it is a subjective function, so it's completely oriented based on you as a subject. So it's very individual. I sometimes have called it the identity function. It doesn't matter if you're using F-E, or no, sorry. It doesn't matter if you're using F-I or T-I, because it's still your identity. If you do it right, you're going to get the job done. It doesn't matter if you're coming from those, what do I feel or what do I think? You're still going to be able to know who you are. Whichever lens you're looking through, that's really what matters. Who you are and how do you interact with the world. And so if we were to compare F-E and T-I and then T-E and F-I, as you can see, you've got your bases covered. You've got your logic and your emotions. Way to go. If you can get both of those done right, then you've got your bases covered. You can get the job done. It doesn't matter what function you have. If T-E is focused on the facts around them and T-E is focused on people think blah, blah, blah. These are the moving parts. This is the way that the system is right now. These are self-evident facts. And then you're like, okay, well, what do I value? And how am I going to come up against the tribe or the world and make my values known regarding these facts? If you can do both of those things, then you can do amazing things. And if you are using F-E and T-I and you're like, oh, well, this is the common value system. This is what these people feel and these people feel. And then these are the different moving parts as regards to where society's going, because, you know, an example of F-E might be like, oh, wow, like the country in the United States is really divided right now. Oh, there's like a lot of tension going on. Or, oh, like this industry has a lot of tension going on. So what do I think about that? T-I, what do I think about that? Like, what do I think about the way that people are acting right now? And how do I want to solve the problem of society, whatever? If you can do both those things, you're going to get the job done and you're going to do amazing things. So yeah, if you just focus on your own functions and do what you need to do, you can judge the outer world, you can judge yourself, and then voila, put it together. You have a working tool that will be able to do whatever the hell you want to do. So moving on to the perceiving functions. S-E and N-E are what do you see? What do you see when you look around you? What is the now? And then S-I and N-I are what have I always known? What have I always seen? What has been my impression subjectively based on living on this earth? So no matter who you are, you were plopped down on this earth as a baby with no fucking clue of where we are. You're like, what is this? I'm this baby. Like, what is being a human? I have no clue. Like, I don't know. From the moment you were born to now, you have organized everything that you've ever seen into a sort of framework that you use to then judge what you're seeing now up against that framework. And so SI and NI are both different ways of doing that. So if you're using SI, then you're going to have all of these memories. And I know that SI doesn't literally equal memory, but I say memory because memory has the connotation of being a sensory experience. So SI is going to have all of these sensory, physical experiences and have them all organized in their head so that whenever you see the now, you know how to apply, you know what your subjective framework is in relation to what now. You're going to be able to harness the possibilities of the now if you know where you've been, and if you know where you don't want to go again, and if you know where maybe you would like to try and go. So if NE is looking at all of the possibilities that exist in the now, all of the many paths you can take, you can use your SI to be like, hey, I've already been in this road before. I don't want to be there again. What can I do to make sure that I never go there again and to make sure I open up possibilities here? So yeah, and then NI is going to be all of the intuitive concepts and understanding, and NI is sort of focused on what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose? What is my purpose? And everyone's going to be focused on that at some point. Like I said, all of these functions can get the job done. But the reason I'm saying meaning and purpose, so if I'm saying that SI is more focused on memory and past experiences and NI is focused on meaning and purpose, these are just names to help you understand the functions. The problem with the English language is that everybody has their own connotations to these words. So I'm doing the best I can. Memory doesn't exactly mean SI and purpose doesn't exactly mean NI. But, you know, I'd rather have some sort of working definition than nothing at all. So if NI is looking at, NI is gathering, or not gathering, sorry, that's confusing. It's organizing all of the concepts that it's seen. And like for me as an ENFJ, I have this picture of the world based on how I think, what I think the meaning of it is. Personally, I think that the meaning of being on Earth is to put the pieces of ourselves back together again and to evolve. I think every person you meet is a lesson that you can learn from. I think every opportunity you have is a lesson. I think you're supposed to follow your heart and then go where your heart is taking you and listen to your emotions as the #1 like messenger of if you're on the right path or not. And I think, you know, you're supposed to follow your path and you're supposed to, it's just a natural growing process. It's like, if I'm a human, I'm like a seed that's planted and then I'm blooming. The more I follow where I'm supposed to go, I'm blooming into a different version. And that's the point, is to learn and expand. That's the point of everything in life, is that we're just all expanding, we're all growing, we're all dying, we're all being rebirthed. Like that's just life. So, okay, that is just an example. I'm not saying every NI user is going to think that, but I'm giving you an example of what my NI impression is on what life is. Every NI user is going to have a different impression of what life is. And then same with SI, you can either think life is hard, life has been good to me, life has been bad for me. NI and SI will, you know, both have this impression, people really like me, I've had a good luck with relationships, I've had bad luck with work, whatever that is. That's like sort of your baggage that you're taking with you every new moment. So the new moment, NE and SE, that is either for NE, all the possibilities that exist right now at your fingertips, or SE, everything that is sensory in the now, just being. So hopefully you can see that if you put NE and SI together, and you really just do both, then you know where you're coming from and you know what you see. There you go. Like, if you know who you are, who are the people around you, where you're coming from, and what you see now, if you know that, then you can do anything that you want. FE and TI is not more altruistic than TE and FI. TE and FI is not more, you know, efficient necessarily, because the thing is that it's great to develop your shadow functions, and I can make a video on that in the future, but I just, I don't want anyone to feel like they have to envy anyone else's set of functions, because you have your gift for a reason. And the reason why we are all different personality types is because we all, as the human species coming together, can sort of compensate for each other's weaknesses. So I think TE and FE, for example, both may be coming at it from a different angle, but you can either, you know, ask some, like if you're an FE user, you can ask a TE user to help you, or you could just integrate your TI and do something that is a different function than the TE FI, but it does the same thing. So not every function is equal in what it can do on its own. But if you, I guess, sorry, what am I trying to say? Like, it might be true that TE is more efficient or effective than FE. But if you put your other function together, like as the axis, FE and TI versus TE and FI, then both of those pairings are gonna, you know, get the job done. It's a mend of caring about people, you know, and things, I guess. I'm not trying to say that thinking equals things and people equals feelings. I'm just trying to give an example, and the words are failing me sometimes. But yeah, I would say that most people rely way too much on their dominant function. And that's fine, because that's what we know and love. And another thing that's fine about it is that if we work together and if we collaborate, we can help each other. In theory, that's fine. I just don't think, when I look around at the way that people are, I don't necessarily think that we're achieving synergy. And synergy means, if you don't know, the whole idea of groups creating something bigger than itself. It's the idea of like 1 + 1 = 3. When you get a group of people together, they become bigger than the sum of their individual competencies. I think that if the human race had more trust and more understanding within each other, then we would be able to actually achieve synergy and actually understand one another, and compensate for each other's weaknesses, and not necessarily have to grow our lower functions. But if we live in a society where people aren't helping each other, then you might have to grow your lower functions. I hope that that makes sense. It's like, I'm an FE dom. If I want to succeed in this world, I cannot just wait for thinkers to do the thinking for me, because they never have. It's like, honestly, right now, it's kind of like a dog-eat-dog world. They don't care. Like, it's survival of the fittest. They don't care that I would rather do FE. These thinkers are gonna outdo me in thinking every time if I don't try and get my thinking a little bit better. And if we lived in a world where everyone was just doing their dominant function and then sort of convening and staying in their lane, maybe that would be fine. But, you know, I don't want that to discourage you, because we have every tool in our toolbox. And as long as we're gonna, as humans, care so much about being individuals, might as well figure out how to be the best individual you could be, And that is entirely possible. And each of these cognitive functions, I think, are completely neutral and completely equal, as far as value and as far as what they can get for you, as far as accuracy. TI is not more accurate than FI. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm focused on the truth. You guys are so focused on your feelings. Like, no, those feelings are real. They're there. It doesn't matter if you think they're true. They're there. Do you care about trying to figure out why they're there? Because they're there. It doesn't matter if you think that they shouldn't be there. They're there. And it's the same as like if you were to tell a feeler, like, sorry, that's the truth. I don't care if you don't like it. That's the truth. Okay, well, thinkers need to realize that these feelings are there. Like, we're emotional creatures. Deal with it. Deal with it. We are emotional creatures. You can't just out-truth that. So, all of these things are real. They all exist. They all matter. They're all true. They're all you're able to access all of them. So yeah, all of the cognitive functions are equal. I'd like to know your thoughts on this. If you're interested in having discussions like this, join my Facebook group, Personality Typology for Self-Growth. Follow me on Twitter at HappySadLion if you want to see my ramblings. And I also offer life coaching and consulting. So if you are interested in getting in touch with me for any business purposes or anything like that, you also can email me at hello@meghanlevota.com. Thank you for watching this video and have a wonderful rest of your day.